Hello, welcome to Premier Scene. I'm Claire Bueno as we meet the key people who are on the road to the Gymkhana Grid. We're stood in front of a champion, so congratulations. Tell us more about Gymkhana and why it's such an important sport for you.
Yeah, Gymkhana Grid, it's kind of put me on the map. Now I'm four-time champion. It's a different racing series completely to anything else in the world. So we have like lights and lasers and pyrotechnics everywhere, and two race courses that run alongside each other. So yeah, for me, it's fantastic.
And why was it that particular motorsport that drove you to, pardon the pun, to do that rather than any of the others?
I mean, for me, it's just so different. It's so out there. It's so kind of raw and edgy. That's what kind of attracted me to it. I like drifting and I like rallycross, and it kind of combines the whole thing together. So you get all the drivers from across the world who drift, who do rallycross and who do rally, and we all compete against each other. So for me, it ties everything together nicely, and it's such a cool event.
And how did you first get into it?
I actually taught myself. It was on the road, and then I started going into car parks and messing around in car parks, and kind of learnt this driving style of instead of smoking the tyre so much, was like trying to keep the car quiet purely because I was like doing it in the car park. So then I entered a competition, which was the first Gymkhana Grid, and then I won that one, and went to the finals, and here we are now. So,
as a sport, it's very inclusive. So, what advice have you got to anybody that would want to come out and take part?
Just come out, see the event, come and have a word with me, and you'll be hooked straight away. Without a doubt, it is absolutely amazing. Just turn up and just drive. It's seat time. You need to just drive, and then you'll love it.
Are you excited about being part of the documentary?
Yeah, of course. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Tell me how you got into Gymkhana.
To the Gymkhana, basically I'm a drift driver, but after a few years I started Gymkhana races too, when I had the chance to attend one Gymkhana race in Germany, and the first Gymkhana Grid race was for me in Hungary. And after that followed up a lot of Gymkhana races. In that year I had an invitation also to Gymkhana Grid Madrid, where I got the second place, and in the Gymkhana, Hungarian Gymkhanas also have a lot of podiums, and in drift, I am a champion, Hungarian champion.
I mean, what I loved about when you're seeing the film as well, that for you, it isn't about being a female driver. You are a driver, and what this sport seems to promote really is it doesn't matter what your background is, it doesn't matter how much money or how little money. It's an inclusive sport. Really.
It can matter your background, and that's why it's a little bit difficult to attend in a motorsports than, for example, boxing. Before that, I was boxing, but anti-boxing. So you have to be dedicated to do it, and I would be like a role model in this stuff with my gender, because I see that it needs more female drivers in motorsports, and I would be really glad if there will be more from that, but it's not that easy.
Do you have to do any particular kind of physical exercise outside of what you do within the car to kind of keep yourself strong enough to be able to hold a car like that, really, and manipulate the car?
Yeah, these cars not like the daily cars. It's more difficult to drive physically sometimes, and that's why I increase my stamina, and I attend the gym time, go to the gym and some do some exercises there every day, basically. It's really important for me. Women can lose their water from your body faster than men, and it's really important in motorsports for the concentration. And I have to focus a lot of stuff, but doesn't need male drivers. So that's why I have to be well prepared.
And I would think as well, how much time do you have to spend inside the car, you know, training yourself, and you know, how many hours a day do you have to then spend driving as well as exercising? I mean, this is a huge commitment, isn't it? As any sportsman.
From that time I started to racing, I never had any time to practice. No, I can't afford it, so that's why my races, my trainings. So, but in the last 2 years I couldn't race. It was one race in South Africa, this Gymkhana Grid, when I could attend. But unfortunately in Hungary, to build a background and get sponsor, it's sometimes impossible.
Well, I've had the fortunate event to watch the film, and I have to say that your story is probably one of the most inspiring stories out of all the drivers, because if anyone, you've really come from a humble beginning, haven't you?
Well, yes, I think the only thing about my story is different is that I came from the town which is abandoned right now, so I don't know if it makes any difference to being a Gymkhana Grid driver, but in overall probably yes.
Did you have any hesitation in being a part of the documentary?
Being a part of the documentary was probably a very big moment for me, and I'm happy that I was able to prove myself, like to be one of the chosen drivers who can actually expose our motorsport to the public, and you know, tell the viewers and tell a little bit not just about the racing itself, but about the life story from our backgrounds, which is very different from everyone who was involved in this documentary. So, you know, I haven't watched the movie, you know, the film myself as yet, so I cannot say what it's going to be like, but I'm just like looking forward and very excited about it.
And you're a Gymkhana Grid champion, so how did you actually get four times, sorry, actually, it doesn't say that on there, 4 times. How did it all start for you? How did you get into doing Gymkhana Grid?
I went into the Gymkhana Grid by one of the invitations, which was for the back in 2012 qualifying rounds, which I won, and following finals, which I won as well in the all-wheel drive class. It just gave me a kickstart to, you know, to do it on a, you know, full-time scale. So 6 years on, and it became like a tradition and part of my life at the same time. So, you know, I cannot think myself of like, you know, the life without the Gymkhana Grid. As simple as that. It's just very addictive as well. So. I
was going to say, because can you tell us something of the adrenaline rush that you must be going through when you're actually in the car and actually in the race and performing all the tricks?
Oh yes. While you race, you get so much excitement and so much adrenaline rush, and it's just probably the way to expose your feelings on a particular track, and in combination with a well-set car, you just can show, here it is, this is what I am.
And I think that's what's nice as well, is that people can be who they are. It doesn't matter what their background is, men, women. Anybody can be a Gymkhana Grid racer, can't they?
In the Gymkhana Grid, there is no limitation if this is a female or a male. As long as you've got that something inside of you which drives you and drives you very, very crazy, then you just can sit, you know, behind the wheel and put your foot down and then just show them what it can do.
Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship that you have with your car, because that's got to be something special?
My current car, which is Subaru Impreza, made by Scooby Clinic, I would say it's like my little sister. I cannot even say that it's my partner, because it's even more than that. So I'm trying to be very gentle to her and always, you know, just take it easy during the championship event through the year. But when it comes to the Gymkhana Grid, then there is no mercy, unfortunately, for her.
Are you looking forward to this evening?
Yeah, it's going to be good. Looking forward to the film coming out and seeing what the actual final product was, as we as drivers haven't seen it yet. So yeah.
Oh my goodness! So it really is the world premiere for all of you this evening.
Yeah, it is. You know, we've had little snippets, but yeah, I'm looking forward to. Got my family here, got friends here, so it should be good.
And when you were first approached to being a part of the documentary, did you have any hesitations?
No, definitely no hesitations there. Any PR work, anything like this that can work towards, you know, getting my career up and running, my racing is always a bonus.
Well, I think what you'll see from the film, but people like yourself that have not necessarily had it easy in life, you have been able to come through and prove yourself, and what Gymkhana's done is give you an opportunity to show what you're capable of.
Yeah, of course, and it is amazing. You can start off with the cheap budget and work your way through to the top, and that's exactly what I done 4 years ago. I started in an old BMW that cost me 500 quid, and now here I am, racing with the world's best. So yeah, it really can work for the lower budget guys.
Can you tell me about the relationship that you have with your car as well? It must be
yeah, my car. I don't think,
car man.
Yeah, it's definitely. I can never get rid of it. It's I've travelled all over the world with it. If it ever went missing or if I damage it, it's always gutting. But yeah, I love my car to pieces. There's no two ways about that.
And what do you think differentiates Gymkhana compared to other motorsports for you? What was it that made you want to go down that path rather than other pursuits?
I think the idea that you can come to this sport with not a big budget was the first sort of bring me into the sport. But sitting there with some of the world's best drivers, I'm sat there with my idols from when I was younger, so you can't ask for much more than that, really.
And what was I going to ask you as well? I've gone completely blank.
That's all right.
A complete mind block about where you can, for young people that are wanting to get into Gymkhana, where can they go? Do they have to do it in their car, in a local car park? Where's safe that they
Okay, I don't. I used to do it on the streets, and I got in a lot of trouble doing that. So I sort of saw a UK series. You had what's called Fueltopia Barrel Sprint. And you have a series called Formula G, which is very similar to the big Gymkhana grids, and that's it's not expensive, and it's a good way of getting into a really good grassroots sport in.
And the cars that you're using now, can you tell us more about that and why it was the right one for you?
I think it's just more the S14s. A lot of modifications are made for them. A lot of people know how to set them up. And it just makes it easier for when you're trying to get that extra seconds to try and beat other people, that you have a car that people are using and building and making parts better for it.
And this is a sport that you very much share with your father as well.
Yeah, so my dad builds and maintains my car, which is good. He's an old school mechanic, which is good. He used to do rally driving, sidecar racing when he was younger. So yeah, he keeps it, maintains it. The tuning stuff goes to specialist garages, but the maintenance and the building work and just doing all that is all done by my dad. So yeah, it's good.
And any advice for anybody that wants to get into Gymkhana?
Just do it. Yeah, no, don't hesitate. I had one opportunity to do it and I took it.
Congratulations on a terrific documentary.
Have you seen it?
I have indeed.
Did you cry?
I did actually.
Did you cry? It works.
Yeah, exactly. Particularly with obviously Dmitrij's story, who's everybody's got an amazing story, and the one thing that spoke to me in the documentary is it's just about the personalities and the people as much as racing cars.
Yeah.
Was that obviously an important theme for you?
I think that was really the point of the film. No one's really made a film like this, I don't think, about motorsport, which really looks outside of the bubble. And I think the opportunity to do that is almost quite unique with Gymkhana Grid, because it's such a young sport, and because at one end you've got drivers that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and the other end you've got drivers who are locksmiths and plumbers or builders or whatever, or boy band pop stars. That's kind of really wide range, really wide gamut of drivers to kind of get into their stories and look at their personal journeys. You can't say the same thing about Formula One. You can't really say the same thing about rally or any of these other sports, which are sports that need a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of investment.
Exactly. And what made this the right decision for you to make a documentary about it?
Well, I was quite lucky that this was asked. I was asked, obviously, to make it as a film, and that they specifically wanted it to be about the personal journeys. The decision for me was based on the cast and the locations that we were going to go to tell their stories. If this had all been set in London and then we were going to go to South Africa and it was going to be shot in a few kind of garages, I don't think I would have been really engaged. And it's the depth of the personal stories. Dmitrij Sribnyj evacuated from Chernobyl. The rivalry between Adam and Luke, and the incredible sort of way they spur each other on. Shane's story, it's extraordinary. Boy band pop star turned driver, it's sort of, and of course Ken's story is amazing too. Ken Block makes shoes, becomes a rally driver, becomes a YouTube viral sensation, creates this event, and it's almost the most accessible motorsport event I've come across.
And was there anything that you couldn't sort of fit into the film that you would have liked to, but for time, for instance, you had to leave at the cutting room floor?
There are so many things that got left on the cutting room floor, but it was inevitable because we filmed, I can't remember the exact number, but it's 9 countries, I think. America, Africa, all the way across Europe, Ukraine, Sweden, Portugal, Hungary, you name it. So the amount of footage that we had, because we were in these places, I think we did 23 days filming.
Is that all?
That was before we got to South Africa. 23 days filming for one feature-length documentary, you can imagine. But there's a series of films that has been made out of the unseen footage. We were shooting some things that were going to be part of these profile films, which are sort of teasers for the main film, and I think they actually come out before the main film, so they give you a bit of a flavour of the sort of scenes and places we were visiting and sort of things that people were saying and experiencing.
And did you find as well, because actually making a documentary is a journey in itself, and I just wondered whether there were certain threads that you would never have anticipated until you actually got into like principal photography?
You know what, for me, I wasn't involved in the majority of the casting. When I started on the project, a lot of the cast were in place. And a couple of people really kind of elevated, I think, during the filming and became bigger characters. You don't want to reduce it to kind of characters, but it's a film. They're people, they're real stories. And for me, it was how amazingly three-dimensional, all of these kind of people and their stories were. I mean, it's such incredible diversity. And there were moments when I was shooting, not least at Chernobyl, but also in South Africa, where I was more moved whilst filming than I've ever been in my entire career, which is pretty long. And that was unexpected.
And just finally, have you got a greater respect for this sport now after making the film?
Well, I think I had a good respect for. I'd never made a motorsport film before. This was my first. I've made quite a few features about different sports and different. Not necessarily niche, but specialist sports. And I came into this sort of quite intrigued by it. And now I'm really excited by it. There's these days, every now and again, a sport comes along that sort of feels quite fresh or a new interpretation of a sport. I was quite involved early on in the development of parkour free running, which I made a film called Jump London, which really helped elevate that on a kind of global level. And in a way, I sort of feel like this, actually can really gain and can really benefit from this film because it makes it human.
Exactly. It's like a revolution. You're the punk rocker of the motorsport.
I've combed my Mohican down.
Are you looking forward to this evening?
Yeah, very much so. I've been involved in Gymkhana from the very beginning. Our very first event, I believe, was in Spain like 5 years ago or something, and it's been an incredible journey. The time and effort that the guys at Monster Energy have put into this sport has been insane, and it really gives people the opportunity that come from just a regular background at home with mum and dad in a garage, the opportunity to go and drive against people like Petter Solberg, 3 times rally champion, Ken Block, Gymkhana star, Luke Woodham, 4 times Gymkhana champion, and people are challenging these drivers and really taking them to town, and it's great to see like real homegrown, especially UK talent that is coming up and showing people what can be done.
I think what's great about the sport is it is inclusive, isn't it? It doesn't matter what your creed, colour, background, your social standing, male, female. It is a sport that everybody can compete with as equals.
Yeah, and it really gives people the opportunity. They can build a car at home. They don't have to have a bank load of money to be able to get involved in this sport. It's real grassroots, and it's got some really interesting people at the very other end of the scale, like, for instance, Petter, Ken, Nic Hamilton, all these big names in motorsport come to this event, compete, and I've seen drivers that have built a car on a real tight budget come and actually do really well. It's an event that showcases raw talent and gives people the opportunity to come and showcase that.
And when you first got into it, how did it come to fruition? How did it happen?
So basically, Gymkhana Grid was obviously the you know, it's the show of Ken Block, which obviously Monster put on the road for everybody to come and compete in. So having Monster as one of our sponsors of our program, they gave us the opportunity to come and be involved in it. We really enjoyed it and loved being a part of it, and we just basically kept asking to come back. We haven't won it yet, but we're still trying. Again, it's a tough one. You know, there's a lot of talent on the grid. There's a lot of people that turn up and you think, you know, this is going to be hard, and they really do prove themselves when it comes to the track.
I mean, that's the one thing I noticed when I saw the film. It is very much about the taking part. Yes, people want to win and they're out there to win, but it's very much about the taking part as well.
Yeah, it's one of those events that's absolutely awesome to be a part of. You know, we've gone to Spain, we've gone to the UK, we've been in Africa last year, and it gets people from all different walks of life coming to the track and being a part of something, and it's, you know, it's amazing to be a part of it myself.
And any inspiration for young drivers that are wanting to get behind the wheel and give Gymkhana a go?
I mean, I started in go-karting, and it got really expensive really quick because it's hard, because it's sort of funded always by mum and dad when you're young. And I went from there into car racing, and then I saw this element of drifting in Gymkhana. I was like, that looks really cool, a lot of fun to do with cars. And it just kind of went from there, really. I built a car at home with dad, and then I've made a career out of it. 10 years later, I'm now travelling the world, racing cars all around the place. And Gymkhana gives people the opportunity to make dreams come true, and that is exactly what it's done for a lot of drivers here tonight.
Are you excited about this evening?
Yeah, completely. I always get invited out of the blue. It's always an honour to be here as a guest and be invited and also represent Monster. Been an athlete for many years, so yeah, really excited and happy to be here.
And tell us what is so special about Gymkhana Grid?
Well, put it this way, they've done such a good job with the event. With the videos, you know, they've gone viral, and it's just great to be a part of it and you know, enjoy what the hard work everybody's put in, and see what the boys have been up to.
And motorsport obviously is very much part of the family trade. Why would you diversify into Gymkhana Grid as opposed to the more traditional form of motor racing?
I think it's cooler. You know, it's all about smoke and loud noises and really maximising what the car can do, or what a car can do, sort of pushing it to its limit, and past the grip level sometimes, and gives you a new lease of life, I would say, into motorsport, and sort of learning about what it takes to be a driver. You sort of have that car control and what you need to be at the top level.
And what I've enjoyed about watching the documentary, and you'll see as well, and you know from experience, is the inclusivity of the sport. It really doesn't matter what your background is, what your race is, what your gender is. Actually, if you want to just get in there and do it, you can.
Yeah, it's all about bringing the people that don't really know about motorsport, but love getting down and dirty into the smoke and donuts, all that sort of stuff, and drifting, and actually learning about what you need to do, how you can become a driver, and to know that you really don't need a background to become a driver. You know, we all just love motorsport, we love engines, we love the rawness of it, and you know, hopefully by showing what Gymkhana can do for people, can open new doors for many talent and people coming through.
Can you share with us a little bit of what it's like when you're doing a donut and that kind of a whole adrenaline rush?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, you just want to make as much smoke as you can, you know, and show people that sort of doing a donut isn't skill, really. Sometimes you can do a skillful donut, but mainly you just want to put on a good show for the crowd, you know, and it feels so good when you can't really see what's going on because you've got so much smoke around the car, wheel comes inside, and you know you've done a good job that way, and it keeps everybody's smile on their face.